The Philippine Embassy in Hong Kong expects high voter turnout for the 2019 midterm elections. Paper jams, machine glitches, and other issues mar the Philippine midterm election day. Authorities arrest several individuals in Caloocan for allegedly distributing sample ballots on election day. And police arrest 28, including minors, over alleged vote buying in EB Magalona in Negros Occidental. Good evening. The Philippine Embassy in Hong Kong is confident they will be able to achieve a high voter turnout in the 2019 midterm polls. Ferdy Petalio is in Hong Kong to tell us why live. Ferdy, go ahead.
First line. Good evening, Diego. At exactly 6:05 in the evening, the voting here in Bayanihan Center, Kennedy Town, was closed. According to the Philippine Embassy, the voter turnout for this midterm election is higher than in the 2016 presidential elections. The voters turnout the last day of the election was 1,800 and having a total of 36,009 from April 13 to May 13, which is 16% higher than the previous election. Yesterday, a total of 34,183 cast their votes, which is around 40%. More than 40% of the more than 90,000 registered voters in Hong Kong. The embassy is confident and they have reached the target voter turnout, which is 42%. As mentioned by Consul General Antonio Morales, ballots from Macau, Beijing, Guangzhou, Xiamen, Chongqing, Shanghai, and Mongolia may arrive within today. And with us now is Consul General Quintin, Chairman of a Special Ballot Reception and Custody Group. Good evening, sir.
Yes, good evening.
Why do you think we have a high voter turnout for this election?
Well, definitely, contrary to the usual conception, or belief that there's less interest in the senatorial or the midterm elections. Apparently here in Hong Kong, for this particular election, the interest was very high. Awareness about the elections was quite high compared to previous years, historically. So now we have an upward trend when it comes to the midterm elections here in Hong Kong.
Okay. So, could you further elaborate on the problems faced by the voters?
Of course, there are the usual problems, names missing from the list, which of course we can't do anything about that. The management and the release of the official list of voters is, of course, within the authority of the COMELEC. And whenever there were queries during the 1 month voting period, we referred them to COMELEC, and some were successful in pleading their case, some were not.
Okay. So, do you have any information about the arrivals of ballots from China here in Hong Kong?
Yes, we have already received the arrival details of all the consulates and of course our embassy in Beijing. They are scheduled to arrive. First is Macau, of course, is expected to arrive tonight. The election returns are expected to arrive tonight, and for tomorrow we are expecting Guangzhou, Xiamen, and the Philippine Embassy in Beijing, in that order. And later in the afternoon tomorrow, we'll be expecting Chongqing. And on the following day, on the 15th, that's Shanghai. Shanghai will be arriving sometime in the morning.
Okay. So, if these ballots do not come in time as expected or within the day, what is the plan of the Philippine consulate or the embassy when canvassing, or when is the canvassing will end in Hong Kong?
Well, in case of any delay, the chairman of the special board of canvassers, headed by our Consul General Antonio Morales, will adjourn in the meantime, and once there are returns to be canvassed, the SBOC, the SBOC will reconvene. So so far with the schedule we have, we should finish between the 15th and the 16th. But we have a leeway of maybe up to the 17th. But since we expect the last election returns from Shanghai to arrive on the 15th, we'll probably finish it on that day.
Okay, thank you very much,
Thank you very much.
Consul Kenty. And that's the latest here in Hong Kong. Back to you, Jago.
Yes, Ferdy, I just have one question. You said, based on the report a while ago, that there was a higher voter turnout as compared to last elections. Did we see aside from better awareness, did we see a growth in population in terms of number of overseas Filipino workers moving to Hong Kong, and that could be attributed to the growth or a higher voter turnout?
Well, basically, the Filipino community here were very happy about the new flow and smooth operation of the electoral devices, especially the VCMs. The VCMs were running smoothly, especially at the end or the middle and the end part of the election. So the Filipino community, as I've talked to them, they do trust the overseas voting here in Hong Kong. That's why they try to come up and be on time to cast their votes.
All right, thank you, Ferdy Petalio, reporting live from Hong Kong. Meanwhile, Mai Bermudez is on the line to give us the updates in the ongoing counting of votes at the PPCRV. Mai?
Jago, the results are in, leading the senatorial race in the partial unofficial count of the Parish Pastoral Council for Responsible Voting, and KBP is Senator Cynthia Villar with 93,660 votes, or 7.12% of the total number of votes. This is as of 6:05 in the evening, with a transmission of 330 out of 85,768, or 0.38% of the total number of votes. Inching close at second is a re-electionist Senator Grace Poe with 83,258, or 6.33% of the total number of votes. Third, or at the third spot, is a former special assistant to the president, Christopher Bongo of PDP Laban with 73,786, or 5.61%. Next comes a Nationalista Party, Pia Cayetano, with 72,105 votes, or a 5.46%. Fifth is from PDP Laban and former PNP chief Ronald Bato de la Rosa. Sixth is Senator Sonny Angara with 65,916 votes, or 5.01%. Jago, next is Aimee Marcos, who got 65,616 votes, or 5%. Lito Lapid comes at 8th with 65,754 votes. Francis Tolentino of PDP also at Magic 12 with so far with a 4.28%. Nancy Binay of UNA at 10th spot with 55,616, or 4.23%. 11th spot was snatched so far by former lawmaker Bong Revilla with 53,528 votes. And finally, at 12th spot is Senator J.V. Ejercito. So far, Jago, those were our top 12. So far, this is as of 6:05 in the evening. Clustered, or 333 out of 85,786, or 768, or 0.38% of the total number of votes. This is a partial unofficial count of the Parish Pastoral Council for Responsible Voting, or PPCRV and KBP, Jago.
All right, thank you, Mai Bermudez, reporting from PPCRV. Several vote counting machines and voters registration verification machines were found defective, resulting in a slow voting process in Manila City today. Joanano tells us why.
Several technical problems with the vote counting machines, or VCMs, were experienced today as thousands of residents in the city of Manila cast their votes. In Manuel Alquezon Elementary School in Tondo, 3 VCMs malfunctioned. Because of this, several voters got irritated and opted not to vote and just went home. One of such voters is Bobot David, who arrived in his polling precinct as early as 5 a.m. He said he was dismayed because the VCM in their precinct was defective and was rejecting ballots.
Alas 5 pala, nandito na ako. Isang oras na mahigit, magbabackout na nga ako eh. Hindi pa rin, ako na lang kakain, nagugutom na ako.
Technicians deployed by the Commission on Elections or COMELEC tried to fix the problem. It took until the end of the voting period but no new VCMs came for replacement. So as not to halt the casting of votes, the election officers decided to put all the shaded ballots in a box and task the chairman of the Board of Election Inspectors or BEIs to counting those votes. This will be done together with other election officers and some poll watchers to ensure that all votes will be counted accordingly.
Si chairman ng BEI ang magpapasok at lahat ng mga watcher ng partido ay nakaharap para masigurong walang dayan.
But because of such move, some voters have expressed their worries over possible election fraud.
Ang worry ko kasi, wala akong resibo, siyempre. Kung wala akong resibo, hindi ko makikita kung nabilang yung mga boto ko.
Basta binigay sa amin yung listahan ng mga boboto. Kaya lang po, hindi naman kami ang nagpasok sa dahil nga po may problema pa rin payata. Nilagay muna raw po sa box.
Apart from this, the pilot testing of several voters' registration verification machines or VRVM in some polling precincts in Manila also failed. Among such instances is that which occurred in A. Mabini Elementary School near Quiapo, Manila, where 8 out of 19 VRVMs had a problem with the machine's program. The same was reported in Aurora Elementary School, which prompted the BEIs to proceed with the manual verification of voters through the use of the Election Day Computerized Voters List or EDCVL.
Disconnect po siya, hindi na po namin magagamit, and then nagmanual na po kami ngayon.
Because of this, some registered voters in Manila were disappointed with that they claim is a slow voting process due to the new system.
Talagang mabagal, sobra. 7 pa kami nakapila dito, hanggang ngayon di pa rin kami.
Nagbago, sumobra pa ng bagal. Dati medyo mabilis eh. Ngayon, sumobra sa bagal.
Joanano, UNTV News and Rescue, Manila.
Several problems surfaced during the casting of votes in Western Visayas for this year's national and local elections. Some of these problems include malfunctioning vote counting machines, misdelivery of ballots, and vote buying. From Iloilo City, Vincent Arboleda will tell us why live. Vincent, go ahead.
Yes, good evening, Diego. 192 vote counting machines malfunctioned in Western Visayas earlier today amid the 2019 national and local elections. Negros Occidental reported 101 cases of malfunctioning vote counting machines, while other provinces reported the same issue, ranging from 11 to 21 machines. Some VCMs were fixed while others were replaced. After the agreement with the election board, some voters left their ballots with the election board while waiting for the replacement VCM.
Dalagay lang muna yan ng mga teachers doon sa isang folder or envelope together with the other similarly situated na mga balota. Din pagdating ng replacement machine, sila na ang magpapasok doon sa machine.
Meanwhile, a misdelivery of official ballots occurred earlier this morning in the region. 220 ballots supposedly for Tabao Rizal and San Enrique Negros Occidental had been delivered to the municipality of Anilao in Iloilo Province.
Kasi dapat i-open yung box doon lang sa election time. So doon natin malalaman kung tama ba yung laman noon. Ang may responsible committee dyan is the Shipping and Packing Committee in COMELEC, Manila. Sila dapat ang nag-check kung kompleto ba at tama ba yung mga nailagay doon sa isang box and it is intended for the same municipality or province.
After the mishap, officials delivered the ballots to Bacolod City at around 11:41 in the morning. The ballots were received by the COMELEC officials in San Enrique Negros Occidental. Aside from these, initial reports from authorities showed a record of 73 cases of alleged vote-buying incidents in the region, 55 of which are still under investigation, while 3 cases have been filed. And that's the latest live. Back to you, Diego.
Thank you, Vincent Arboleda, reporting live from Iloilo City. Defective vote counting machines and other registration verification machines caused delays in the voting process in Cebu province. From Cebu, Gladys Tuabi will tell us why live. Gladys, go ahead.
Yes, Jago, like what happened in other areas, some voting counting machines and voter registration and verification machines in Cebu encountered problems during the elections today. 55 VCMs and 75 VRVMs did not function properly in Compostela and Manila City. This is the reason why the voting process was delayed, although the voters came early in their respective voting precincts. Commission on Elections or COMELEC personnel replaced the defective machines with the contingency VCMs. Other voters cast their votes manually.
Well, maguba ang machine that is normal. Kaya nga naman naman joy defect. Bisan gati sa itong cellphone, na defect, bisan pa kung sa ka-high-tech. So we have contingency VCMs. We have more than 600, mga 683 contingency VCMs. Kaya ito na ang giandam na posible nga na mong palyar.
Generally, peaceful kay wala may na-disrupt. Walay mga voting centers na wa nag-open. Wa po may kadungog pa na nagigipug nga pamoto. Tanan nagboto naman and they have access. Okay?
Meanwhile, the Police Regional Office 7 arrested 121 individuals in connection with a liquor ban. There were also reports of 4 vote buying and selling incidents in the region, with 5 arrests made. Jago, these midterm elections, COMELEC is expecting an 80 to 82% vote turnout in Central Visayas. And that's the latest live here in Cebu. Jago?
Thank you, Gladys Tuabi, reporting live from Cebu. There's nothing alarming in the reported malfunctioning of vote counting machines. These elections, according to the Parish Pastoral Council for Responsible Voting, or PPCRV. Mai Bermudez will tell us why.
During today's elections, there have been a lot of reports of malfunctioning vote counting machines according to the Commission on Elections or COMELEC. But the Parish Pastoral Council for Responsible Voting or PPCRV said there's nothing to be alarmed of despite such reports.
Kung titingnan niyo po, nung sinabi ni Director Jimenez na 400 to 600 VCMs had malfunctioned since this morning, out of 85,000, because there are about 85,000 clustered precincts, that's just about less than 1%. That's 0.004. That's not alarming. In 2016, PPCRV, we received reports of about 257 malfunction VCMs out of 92,000 VCMs. Ibig sabihin, there are less clustered precincts now, mga 85,000. Whereas in 2016, there were about 92,000 clustered precincts.
The PPCRV is the citizens' arm for matching and verification in these elections. For the unofficial parallel count in the 2019 midterm elections, starting from precincts, transmitted election returns will be given to PPCRV coordinators and will be physically transmitted to the PPCRV Command Center for matching. PPCRV Media Director Agnes Hervasio said they are prepared in case the parallel counting takes 14 days.
Ang PPCRV count po, usually we plan for 14 days kasi syempre po may mga election returns na manggagaling po sa mas malalayong lugar, hindi naman po kagad dumadating on the same day. Tsaka po we make sure of the accuracy level, so we do a double-blind input.
Last elections, parallel count took 10 days for the PPCRV and 80% of the transmitted votes were counted then. Hervasio added that the same number of election-related reports were received if they were to compare the previous and present elections.
Well, it's the same level of reports that we're getting, no? It's the same thing, VCM not working, our names cannot be found, and all that stuff.
It's still premature to be alarmed, according to the PPCRV, in relation to the increased number of reports of vote buying in the country.
I would not call it an increase until I've seen the actual numbers.
The election watchdog claims this was addressed through voters' education. Mai Bermudez, UNTV News and Rescue, Manila.
The elections on Moises Padilla Negros Occidental were peaceful and safe, according to the Philippine National Police. Meanwhile, police make several arrests in EB Magalona over alleged vote buying. Lalaine Moreno will tell us why.
150 soldiers and 219 police officers were deployed in the municipality of Moises Padilla in Negros Occidental for today's elections. The 303rd Infantry Brigade of the Armed Forces of the Philippines, or AFP, also deployed 3 tanks. This is to ensure the security of the voters. Philippine National Police, or PNP, Deputy Chief for Administration, Police Lieutenant General Fernando Mendez personally supervised the security measures in the municipality. He strictly implemented the security plan in the town as it is under the Commission on Elections or COMELEC control. In summary, Mendez is satisfied with the outcome of their plan.
The deployment plan was strictly followed. We have sufficient number of forces from the PNP and the AFP, and we have quick reaction forces ready to react on any contingencies. And as I said, if there's a need to augment more forces based on situations that may arise, we are prepared to do that.
Meanwhile, 2 brothers whose identities have not been given by authorities were arrested by the police in Ibi Magalona, Negros Occidental for violating the Omnibus Election Code of the Philippines. 127 brown envelopes with sample ballots and 1,000 pesos each were recovered from the 2. In total, 28 individuals, including 3 minors, were apprehended last night for a large vote buying in Moises Padilla town. 600 pieces of sample ballots and 12,000 pesos were recovered from them. They are now detained in the police station in Moises Padilla. Lelaine Moreno, UNTV News and Rescue, Negros Occidental.
A young Tanzanian with a rare skin disease pursues her modeling career. Stephanie C. will tell us why.
Miko Dio loves to play basketball and skateboard like many young Tanzanians living in Dar es Salaam, the country's commercial capital. But Dio is different. 15 years ago, his skin began to change and his skin looked distinctly different ever since. Vitiligo occurs when cells that produce the pigment melanin stop functioning, leaving white patches on the skin. At first, Dio was embarrassed and ashamed, but as he got older, he chose to be self-confident to pursue a career in modeling.
You know, in Tanzania, there is no anyone like me. So when few people saw me, designers, they chose me because I'm the first one and I'm the only one. And that is opinionated girl. And the challenge is, I'm the skin model. You know, so when designers wanted muscles model, it's hard for me to get a chance to do a job.
Actually brought to the industry a different type of uniqueness, a different type of beauty, and which inspires a lot of people out there who don't think that they can make it to the fashion industry.
Model and spokesperson Winnie Harlow, who gained fame while taking part in the hit TV series America's Next Top Model, has helped to bring vitiligo to the limelight and inspired others like Dio to push back against stigma. Last year, Dio was selected as Tanzania's top male model at the prestigious Swahili Fashion Week, which pulls in industry heavyweights from East and Central Africa. Stephanie C., UNTV News and Rescue.
Authorities strictly implemented the no-sample ballot giving in Bagong Silang, Caloocan City today. Meanwhile, the voting process in the barangay was slow. Ray Pelayo will tell us why.
Policemen assigned in Barangay Bagong Silang in Caloocan City confronted some volunteers while giving sample ballots to voters during the elections today. But some of them are minors aged 14 to 17 years old. Around 2,000 pieces of sample ballots and other campaign leaflets were confiscated from them. The police recorded their information while the minors were reprimanded and eventually turned over to their parents. The individuals argued they don't know that sharing sample ballots is prohibited.
Mahigpit pong pinagbabawal ang pamimigay ng mga polyetos or sample ballot or campaign na paraphernalia during election period, lalong-lalo na po dito sa polling center.
It was also noticeable that the voting process here became slow due to the limited number of markers. Bagong Silang is one of the largest barangays in the country with around 92,000 voters. But some clustered precincts were allotted with only 12 pieces of markers with around 900 registered voters in each clustered precinct. Persons with disabilities, senior citizens and pregnant women were able to cast their votes in the Emergency Accessible Polling Place or EAAP, assisted by the staff of the Commission on Elections or COMELEC. These personnel were also the ones who inserted the ballots for them into the vote counting machine in their designated precincts, especially those assigned on higher floors.
Yung dati naman kasi dapat machine talaga yun eh. Makikita mo talaga na pumasok ko tsaka may resibo ka. Ngayon wala, perma lang.
Dr. Nimpa Narcisse, the principal of Bagong Silang Elementary School, said there really are eventualities that cannot be avoided.
Mga konti lang naman na yung mga machine na syempre hindi umaandar yung iba pero talaga natural lang yun eh. Natural lang yun pero ginagawa naman ng paraan dahil meron naman mga technical na nag-aayos doon sa machine.
Ray Pelayo, UNTV, News and Rescue, Caloocan City.
Meanwhile, some senior citizens and persons with disability complained of a disorganized voting process in Rizal High School in Pasig City. Monhok Son will tell us why.
60-year-old Emily came early in her polling precinct in Rizal High School in Pasig City despite her old age and disability. But upon entering the school premises, Emily complained why no one had approached to assist her to get to the Emergency Accessible Polling Place or EAP. With the help of her cane, she slowly walked towards the building where her name is listed. She was assisted by a teacher.
Ba't hindi po alam nang nandoon? Pinapupunta po ako doon sa second floor. Okay lang po sir, basta wag lang pong aakyat kasi hindi na nga po ako nagsama. Gawa ng, ang alam ko po ay dito po sa baba. Kaya sabi ko, okay na ako na lang.
A few minutes later, other senior citizens and PWDs arrived. And like Emily, they had the same problem.
Hindi namin nakukuha yung services na hinahanap namin. A PWD, senior, supposed to be we are given priority, no? Because we make effort to perform our responsibility, our obligation for our country. Because we expect good services from our government.
Mahirap. Mahirap. Palipat niya. Dito kami tinuro. Ngayon, kinausap ko yung isa, yung nag-assist dito. Sabi, dun daw ito. Itong number na ito, dun daw ito, dun. Paano gagawin sa amin? Kita mo ko, hirap na akong maglakad. Tapos pabalik-balik ang ganun. Di bali man lang sana kung may sakyan ka, ihatid ka doon. Wala naman.
The alarm that signaled the opening of the election went off, but the senior citizens were still waiting. Moments later, an election officer approached them and said they needed to transfer to another building.
Yung sinasabi dito sa second floor, wala na. Doon na lahat.
Nag-inquire lang po ako. Iko-confirm ko pa rin po kasi sa taas, sir. Sorry po
The official said that this time, they were sure the EAP is located in the other building. The elderly had no choice but to walk again a few meters to exercise their right to vote. The signage that had been missing earlier was then posted on a wall leading to the EAP. Voters started to flock the polling place, but they were still unfamiliar with the new polling place. The Commission on Elections or COMELEC provided a map of the area, but confusion could clearly be seen painted on the voters' faces. Everyone was able to look for their names on the paper posted at the polling areas. Despite the various problems encountered during today's election, the voters, especially the elderly and the persons with disability, were not hindered from exercising their right of suffrage. Monhok Son, UNTV News and Rescue, Pasig City.
The Commission on Elections argued they did not give any special treatment to former Philippine Vice President Jejomar Binay when they assisted him to refeed his ballot into a vote counting machine after it was rejected during today's elections. Aiko Miguel will tell us why.
At past 7 a.m. today, former Vice President Jejomar Binay went to the polling place in San Antonio National High School, Makati City, to cast his vote. However, when he inserted his ballot into the machine for 4 times, it got rejected every time, and this upset Binay. He said he asked the Board of Election Inspectors or BEI what had happened, and the BEI answered his ballot is rejected.
Paano rejected? Paano yung karapatan kong bumoto? Hindi na ako makakaboto. Wala ba kayong solusyon dyan? Hindi ba inisip yan na kung ma-reject ng makina na wala naman ako kasalanan kung ma-reject?
Because of this, the former Vice President went to the Commission on Elections or COMELEC to report the incident. After a closed-door meeting, Attorney Francis Arabe of the COMELEC Education and Information Department accompanied Binay back to the polling place to refeed his ballot and supervise the process. The poll body clarified this incident is not to give special treatment to the former Vice President because COMELEC would insert the ballots of other voters whose ballots also got rejected into another vote counting machine.
Hindi lang siya ang essentially makaka-refeed. Lahat nung na-reject, especially those that came after him, lahat 'yon mari-refeed. So hindi to special treatment in any way. It's being done for everyone, no? It's just that siya yung pinaka-high profile at siya yung sumugod dito.
Attorney Arabe meanwhile said the poll body understands Binay's move, which is only to fight for his right to vote.
There were already around 49 more, or a total of 51 ballots that were waiting to be refed into the machine. As for the ballot of VP Binay and another voter, it was found to be dirty. So the Electoral Board decided to replace his ballot along with another voter, and the rest of the ballots, 49 ballots, were refed to the machine.
COMELEC said they permitted Binay and another voter to vote anew because the VCM was not accepting their ballots anymore.
To wait for the replacement ballot or to cast their votes and leave their ballots or entrust their ballots to the Electoral Board. Gaya nga dito, VP Binay decided to personally feed yung ballot niya, while the rest, they decided to leave their ballots in the custody of the Electoral Board.
According to COMELEC Resolution 1008, a ballot may be fed into another machine if a ballot is defective. The voter has nothing to do with why the machine is not accepting the ballot, the resolution states. Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue, Pasay City.
Quezon City Representative Vincent Bingbong Crisologo faces charges for obstruction of justice, among others, amid the elections. Leia Ilagan will tell us why.
Police arrested Quezon City Mayoral Bet Vincent Bingbong Crisologo, his son Ed Rix, and 44 others hours before the polls. According to authorities, Crisologo attempted to prevent the arrest of his supporters who were allegedly caught vote buying in the residence in Barangay Bahay Toro, Quezon City on Sunday night. The police said Crisologo did not cooperate with them during the arrest and even locked the gate of the house.
Ayaw niya ngang palabasin yung mga tao ko. Sabi ni Congressman Crisologo, sabi niya, hindi, kakasuhan ko kayo ng trespassing. Sabing ganon. Sabi ko, bakit sir? Pamamahay mo ba ito? Ilang beses ko siyang tinanong kung pamamahay niya. And then later on nalaman ko, hindi pala niya bahay yun.
On this, Crisologo argued.
There was no arrest made yet. Wala. Yung 6, nandoon, sabi ko, huwag kayong umalis. Kasi kung totoong pulis kayo, sabi ko, maglabas kayo ng ID. Kasi we will charge you with trespassing kasi wala kayong search warrant.
But one of those caught admitted he accepted money.
Kasi yung ID na nga yun ni Mr. Crisologo, yung card, yun. Kasi yun ang doon nakapaloob, yung pangalan namin, saka yung chinecheck nila kung merong present number yun. Kung nakarehistro ka. Ngayon, kung nakarehistro ka, okay yun. Surrender mo yun, meron kang 200.
The police recovered election materials and 800 pesos cash during the operation. But the lawmaker denied any incidents of vote buying.
Kasi kung may vote buying, dapat yung mga tao yan, sino yung mga taong binili? Sino yung taong bumili? Wala naman silang na-arrestong bumili. Wala naman taong na-aresto na nabili. Wala saan yung vote buying. So, tapos charge pa nila ako ng assault. May sugat ako na pinan nila ako, nadapa ako.
One of his supporters stated the same.
Wala naman po kami ginagawa eh. Pumunta lang kami doon para kunin yung kit watcher eh. Tapos bigla na lang nagdatingan.
Crisologo plans on filing counter-charges against the police. Meanwhile, Philippine National Police or PNP Chief Police General Oscar Albayalde defended the arrest made.
There must be a compelling reason bakit inaresto siya ng ating mga kapulisan knowing na very famous siya na isang congressman. At kilalang-kilala naman siya na isang congressman dito sa Quezon City. Plus, of course, kasama na nga niya yung anak niya na abogado.
Crisologo now faces charges for obstruction of justice, direct assault, and unjust vexation. Leia Ilagan, UNTV, News and Rescue, Camp Crame.
Senator Laila de Lima cast her vote for the 2019 midterm elections. 100 policemen from Camp Crame and Parañaque City were deployed for De Lima's security. April Senedoza will tell us why.
Detained Senator Laila de Lima cast her vote for the 2019 midterm elections at Santa Rita College in Parañaque City on Monday, May 13. 100 cops from Camp Crame and Parañaque City escorted the senator upon her arrival in the voting center. Tensions arose between the media and the cops as the policemen tried to block de Lima from cameras. The senator spent less than 15 minutes for voting. She smiled as she finished voting under the Commission on Elections escorted detainee voting system. It can be noted the Muntinlupa City Regional Trial Court allowed her to vote between 12 p.m. and 2 p.m. on the day of the elections. She also shouldered her expenses for her transport from the Philippine National Police Custody Center in Camp Crame to her polling place. The senator did not give any statement to the media as she was instructed to refrain from giving interviews before and after she casts her vote. Meanwhile, her legal counsel, Attorney Bonnie Tardon, acknowledged the decision of the court.
Tuwan-tuwa kami na at least napagbigyan kami sa ganitong kahilingan at sana nga yung mga sunod na kahilingan din ni Senator de Lima ay mapagbigyan din.
A known staunch critic of President Rodrigo Duterte, de Lima was arrested in 2017 and now remains in detention for her alleged links to illegal drug circulation in the New Bilibid prison when she was the Justice Secretary from 2010 to 2015. April Senedoza, UNTV News and Rescue, Parañaque City.
Manchester City is warmly welcomed by fans at their Etihad Stadium on Sunday. Meanwhile, golfer Rory Mcelroy is the richest young sportsperson in Britain and Ireland for a second straight year. Asher Kadapan Jr. tells us why.
Manchester City received the hero's welcome back at their Etihad Stadium late on Sunday after wrapping up the first back-to-back Premier League title in a decade. City had been pushed down to the wire by Liverpool as the reigning champions defend their title by a single point, 98 points to Liverpool's 97. City, who had not dropped any points in the league since January, beat Brighton 4-1 away to secure their crown.
Back-to-back is more difficult. So the first time last season was always perfect, but this season we had an incredible opponent. So congratulations Liverpool as well for this incredible season. But we did it. We beat them.
City will look to complete a domestic treble next Saturday when they face Watford in the FA Cup final. Meanwhile, former world number 1 golfer Rory Mcelroy is the richest young sports person in Britain and Ireland for a second straight year with a net worth of £138 million according to the Sunday Times newspaper's rich list. McElroy's wealth rose by £28 million from last year, and the 30-year-old 4-times major winner was ranked above Real Madrid soccer player Gareth Bale, who was valued at £94 million, and Manchester City's Sergio Aguero at £58 million. There were 8 soccer players in the top 10, although world heavyweight champion boxer Anthony Joshua was 4th with £49 million, thanks to a £14 million increase in wealth this year. Asher Kadapan Jr., UNTV News and Rescue.
The Philippine Embassy in Singapore reports the voter turnout for the midterm elections exceeds their expectations. Mary Jo Maleriado is in Singapore to tell us why live. Yes, Mary Jo, good evening.
Yes, good evening, Will. And here in Singapore, as of 4 p.m. today, the turnout of voters here in Singapore reached the 25,000 mark the Philippine Embassy in Singapore expected for the 2019 national and local election. According to Mr. J. Anthony A. Reyes, the first Secretary and Consul for Economic, Philcom and Admin at 6 p.m. today, during the closing of the voting, the total number of voters was 25,110. For this month-long postal voting, May 11 is the day in which the most number of votes, which account for almost 1,700. The embassy prepared this event, which included meeting with the Filipino community here in Singapore. However, several issues arose during the elections. To give light to the complaints and issues to the embassy encountered in the first postal voting, we have here tonight the Philippine Embassy's Consul for Economic, Philcom and Admin, Consul First Secretary J. Anthony Reyes. Sir, good evening.
Hi, good evening.
What are the issues that we encountered during the first postal voting election?
Okay, the embassy did not. The election here at the embassy proceeded very well. It went smoothly, so that we had no issues with the technology, with the ballot machines. The issues that we faced were just basically some suspicion about postal voting here at the embassy. In 2016, the embassy conducted elections using the personal voting mode and postal voting mode for this election. Many voters came to the embassy expecting personal voting, and they expressed some suspicion or distrust about using the postal voting.
So how do we address this issue, sir?
Well, we think the suspicion is personal. It has no basis. The embassy keeps all the ballot returns safe and secure. There is no way for any tampering or switching of ballots to be done, everything is made secure against that.
Sir, in your opinion, postal voting is advisable in Singapore?
No. The more efficient mode of voting for Singapore is personal. The nature of Singapore as an island city-state, the embassy is accessible to almost all Filipino voters here, and the preference of voters is for personal voting.
Sir, what time the COC will release the results?
We're expecting the COCs to be generated by around 3 a.m. But then we can't fix the time because we do have some batch feeding to do. We still need to feed the ballots that will accomplished and submitted to the embassy this day.
Sir, message to our kababayan.
We thank the 25,110 people who came here to cast their votes, and we assure our voters that the embassy respects the secrecy and of the ballots, and we've conducted things here so that votes are secure. There's no tampering. And we are doing things so that the counting and the canvassing of the ballots is transparent and honest and clean.
Thank you very much, Sir Anthony. And that's the latest here in Singapore. Back to you, Will.
Thank you very much, Mary Jo Maleriado, for those updates live from Singapore. And for the news abroad, here's Pauline Ompico reporting live from Tokyo, Japan. Good evening, Pauline.
Good evening, William. South Africa's African National Congress has been returned to office after winning parliamentary election, but with a reduced majority. Nina Armilio will tell us why.
Thousands of supporters of South Africa's African National Congress, or ANC, took to the streets of Johannesburg on Sunday to celebrate their party's victory in last week's election. The celebrations continued despite a lower share of the vote, with the ANC party winning 57.5% of the parliamentary vote. The result was the ANC's worst performance in a parliamentary vote since the end of the white minority rule in 1994, when the party swept to power under Nelson Mandela. However, in President Cyril Ramaphosa's first test at the polls since he took power in February 2018, the party retained power in 8 of 9 provinces.
This is a new era, comrades. We are going to do things differently. We are going to do things effectively. We are going to make sure that we inject growth in our economy. We are going to make sure we invite investors to come and invest. We are going to make sure that we give the young people of our country great opportunities so that young people can get ahead in life.
To supporters of Ramaphosa, the ANC victory was an endorsement of his corruption-fighting agenda after he replaced Jacob Zuma.
Because Ramaphosa promised to deliver, and we have faith in him that he will deliver.
Ramaphosa, 66, replaced Zuma as ANC leader in December 2017. His first full term as president should start later this month after his nomination by ANC lawmakers in the new parliament. Nina Armilio, UNTV, News and Rescue.
Governments amended the Basel Convention to include plastic waste in a legally binding framework, which will make global trade in plastic waste more transparent and better regulated. Rosalie Coz explains why.
Around 180 governments adopted a raft of decisions aimed at protecting human health and the environment from the harmful effects of hazardous chemicals and plastic waste, the UN Environment Program, or UNEP, said Friday. The announcement came after a 2-week meeting in Geneva under the theme of Clean Planet, Healthy People, Sound Management of Chemicals and Waste. Some 1,400 delegates from around 180 countries converged for the meetings of the conferences of parties to the Basel, Rotterdam, and Stockholm conventions, known as the Triple COPs, or Conference of the Parties, from April 29 to May 10.
But the most fundamental part of the decision here is how we look at plastics now as a commodity, as a trade. I won't use the word commodity, as something that is traded between countries. They're trying to remove ambiguity, because previously it was not very clear under the Basel Convention how you would trade plastic within countries, whether for recycling, whether for disposal, whether for incineration.
He said plastic waste is acknowledged as one of the world's most pressing environmental issues.
Today we find almost 100 million to 150 million tons of plastics in the ocean. And when we look at the information that we have today, only, like 8% is recycled, 12% is actually incinerated. So 20% is of the plastics that we produce or generate as consumers is managed. So we have a big problem.
The agreement this week will make global trade in plastic waste more transparent and better regulated, while also ensuring that its management is safer for human health and the environment.
Plastic is everywhere. And we need, for us to solve it, it cannot be the responsibility of only one country. It has to be all the countries of the world, all consumers, all organizations have to come together, including the private sector, the plastic producers, have to come together for us to find a solution.
Signed in 1989, the Basel Convention is the most comprehensive international environmental agreement on hazardous and other waste, with 187 parties, according to the UNEP. The Rotterdam Convention aims to promote shared responsibilities concerning the importation of hazardous chemicals and pesticides, which is jointly administered by the UN Food and Agriculture Organization and the UNEP. The Stockholm Convention on Persistent Organic Pollutants is a treaty to protect human health and the environment from chemicals that remain intact in the environment for long periods, and it has 182 parties. Rosa Licoz, UNTV, News and Rescue.
All passengers and crew of an airplane disembarked safely after a landing gear trouble at Mandalay Airport. Meanwhile, thousands of Albanians have been protesting against Prime Minister Edi Rama, with some throwing petrol bombs at his office. Kath Dumaraos will tell us why.
In Albania, anti-government demonstrators threw petrol bombs at the entrance of Prime Minister Edi Rama's office in the Albanian capital Tirana on Saturday. Wearing gas masks, police stood guard in front of the building as protesters continued to throw petrol bombs and firecrackers. Supporters of Albania's opposition parties have been holding protests in the last 3 months to try to push the government to accept snap elections. The opposition, alleging fraud in the 2017 parliamentary elections, has staged rallies and cut its ties to parliament to press for early polls, but the government of Prime Minister Edi Rama has dismissed the allegations. The European Union and the United States have called the government legitimate and have urged the opposition to return to parliament and take part in local elections on June 30. In North Korea, North Korean farmers began planting rice in paddy fields on Sunday. Video provided by the North's official news agency KCNA showed farmers transplanting rice seedlings into rice paddies in Nampo City, where the state's late Kim Jong-il planted rice on May 12, 1971. Director of a cooperative farm at Kangso District, Chie Kyung-chol, said that they expected to achieve the grain production goal, which was set by the state's leader Kim Jong-un at recent party meeting. 4 in 10 North Koreans are chronically short of food, and further cuts to already minimal rations are expected after the worst harvest in a decade, the United Nations said earlier this month. In Myanmar, a Myanmar pilot safely landed a jet without front wheels after the landing gear failed to deploy. The Myanmar National Airlines plane skidded down the runway at Mandalay Airport before grinding to a stop. The pilot of the Embraer 190 was praised for the landing, in which none of the 89 passengers was hurt. Captain Mayat Mo Ong circled the airport twice to allow air traffic controllers to determine if the landing gear was down, the airline said. The aircraft had departed from Yangon and was approaching Mandalay when the pilot was unable to extend the front landing gear. No injuries were reported on the flight carrying 82 passengers and 7 crew members. Kat Dumaraos, UNTV News and Rescue.
And those are the news from the other parts of the globe. Back to you, William.
Thank you very much, Pauline Umpico, reporting live from Tokyo, Japan. All 4 children in a New Zealand family have royal namesakes. Jovic Permas will tell us why.
This family from New Zealand is suspicious of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's baby name choice. Not only does the family have a son named Archie, but they also have a son named Harry and George and a daughter named Charlotte.
Hi, I'm Charlotte. I'm Harry. I'm George. I'm Archie.
While all of her children have royal names, they weren't deliberately named after royals. Most of them are older than their royal counterparts. The Stafford's children are Charlotte 11, Harry 9, George 7, and Archie 4.
It's quite cool because then people call us all princes.
Stafford said she was bombarded with messages from her friends after the Duke and Duchess introduced their own Archie to the world. Archie Harrison Mountbatten Windsor, who was born on Monday, is 7th in line to the British throne.
When Prince George came along, we had a George that was a little bit funny, and then Charlotte was even funnier. And then Archie, yep, that was sort of the icing on the cake.
While the Staffords are stopping at 4 children, they say they like the names Lucy and Freddie if royal baby Archie were ever to have a sister or brother. Jovic Bermas, UNTV News and Rescue.
And those are the reasons behind the news this May 13, 2019. On behalf of Angelo Castro III, I am William Theo, and before we close, we will recap with today's significant sound bites. Because we need to know, we will always ask why. Good evening.
Alas 5 pala, nandito na ako. Isang oras na mahigit, magbabackout na nga ako eh. Hindi pa rin, ako na lang kakain, nagugutom na ako.
Tingnan niyo po, no, nung sinabi ni Director Jimenez na 400 to 600 VCMs had malfunctioned since this morning. Out of 85,000, because there are about 85,000 clustered precincts, that's just about less than 1%. That's 0.004.
Mahirap. Mahirap. Palipat niya. Dito kami tinuro. Ngayon, kinausap ko yung isa, yung nag-assist dito. Sabi, dun daw ito. Itong number na ito, dun daw ito, dun. Paano gagawin sa amin? Kita mo ko, yan, no? Hirap na akong maglakad.
Hindi lang siya ang essentially makaka-refeed. Lahat nung na-reject, especially those that came after him, lahat yon mari-refeed. So hindi to special treatment in any way.
There must be a compelling reason bakit inaresto siya ng ating mga kapulisan, knowing na very famous siya na isang congressman at kilalang-kilala naman siya na isang congressman dito sa Quezon City, plus of course kasama na nga niya yung anak niya na abogado.